Welcome, everybody, to Hibiscus Sports Complex as Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia present to you your QBL Game of the Week, featuring the Toowoomba Mountaineers versus the Southwest Metro Pirates in women's QBL action. I'm John Guarna. This afternoon, I'm joined by Regan Baker and soon-to-be arriving Dan George. This is a big matchup for Southwest. They currently sit in 8th on the ladder, so they are in the finals. If the season ended today, Southwest would be playing the undefeated Brisbane Spartans in a finals matchup. And Toowoomba comes in after their first win of the season. They got the win last night versus the Gold Coast. So it hasn't been the season that Toowoomba wanted. Nonetheless, this is a very important game for the Southwest Metro Pirates. They must win to stay in that final spot and play some postseason basketball. Regan, what are your expectations for this afternoon with this matchup? On paper, it should be an easy win for Southwest, but you can never take anything for granted in the QBL.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, Southwest has had a really strong second half of the season. They didn't start out real great in those first couple of rounds, not getting many wins, but they've had a really great second half of the season. By the looks of what I got out on the floor, it does look like Sid may not be playing tonight. She's just wearing casual clothes, so that knee injury may have finally taken her out, which is a huge impact for Southwest. And Toowoomba can be quite unpredictable as well. I mean, they haven't had a good run recently, unfortunately, but they've still got some amazing players out on the field, and they can definitely surprise teams. I mean, you know, you would hope that Southwest wouldn't come into this game thinking it's going to be an easy win, because Toowoomba could quite easily surprise them.
Yeah, Southwest was the beneficiary of a Logan Thunder win over the Cairns Dolphins last night. Cairns lost that one 75-64. It drew them even with Southwest on the ladder, but according to the QBL website, it shows Southwest currently in that 8th spot. Both teams have the same record, so I'm assuming the points differential for Southwest is a bit better than for Cairns. So Southwest, if they can win out, you'd have to think that they'll be in the finals. Obviously, that's the goal heading into the season. You got to think that's going to be their motivation for this afternoon's matchup.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I was talking to Rob Tanker, the general manager, before the game as well, and he's pretty confident that the girls are going to make it into the quarterfinals in that 8th position. I mean, anything could happen. They've got a couple of they've got one easy matchup and one difficult matchup coming into next week as well, playing Ipswich on the Friday night and the undefeated Brisbane Spartans on the Saturday night. So if they can get a good win here tonight and against Ipswich next week, they could see themselves moving potentially up into that 7th place. But they're definitely preparing for that quarterfinal, that's for sure.
It'll be really interesting to see how Brisbane Spartans approach that one. They've pretty much wrapped up a top 2 seed. They can still potentially drop down to 2nd, but you'd have to think that the Spartans could potentially be resting players in that matchup versus Southwest. I know the Pirates, though, nonetheless, will be very happy to basically they control their own destiny. They're going to have to win out to make it to the finals, and I'm sure that's how Coach Cheney will have them approaching the game. As we're joined this afternoon finally by Dan George. Dan, thanks for getting here, and we appreciate you getting on the mic.
Well, by saying finally, you've just given away the fact that I'm late, as opposed to this is when we scheduled me to join the commentary. But I am late, and there's never an excuse. But I'm running around with my beautiful 8-year-old who's joined us courtside today, which is nice. But
bit of McDonald's too, nice bit of fuel for this afternoon. It's going to be a
well. It's always a moment when you purchase Happy Meals that you question your parenting, but the convenience cannot be underestimated.
Well, it'd be good to see. We always support the family. We're happy to have the family here. And it is a family atmosphere at Southwest as they look to match up with the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Great high-low action from Bairstow to Cheslick. Gets the Pirates opening the scoring. It's a 2-0 lead here for Southwest. And as we say every game, guys, how does the opposition match up with the size of Cheslick? No one has successfully done that so far this season. She gets the steal on the defensive end as well.
Well, Toowoomba, in response to that, they're going to have to just try their best to junk it up as best they can today, because they're undermanned. Have obviously had a really difficult season, and if they're just going to go one out, they're in big trouble.
Hey, Cheslick makes them pay again, doing some work on the glass, and then on the defensive end, challenging the shot. Good start here early, though, for Southwest. As Bairstow fires the corner 3, that rolls in and out. Thought that was Donders. That's Vanessa Horn who came down with it. Donders has it now. Pass inside, shots missed, and Southwest comes down with the D-board. Floater by Willie is off. Cheslick chases it down. Cheslick fouled on her move to the bucket. That foul is going to go on Vanessa Horn. So Cheslick going to go to the free throw line for a couple shots. And you're going to like what you see out of Southwest here early. Again, they have that advantage always with Cheslick, but they're really featuring her. She's touched it on every possession.
And that requires discipline, obviously, for them to be able to come out and execute like that. And occasionally, when you have a big mismatch like Southwest do today, it's easy to play out of rhythm and just focus on that and not play to the standard you're expected to when you come out against a team that's struggled as bad as Toowoomba have this year. But they've come out focused, executing and playing really well, so give them credit.
We lost the nugget, but we recovered it well. Good move.
It's been saved.
Good recovery. Cheslick goes 1 of 2. It's 5-0 here early for Southwest. And Pirates coming out in a bit of a press. Good break there from Toowoomba. Donders has it now. Five on the shot clock. Three-pointer is short. Long rebound nearly saved there by Charlton, but it goes out of bounds. Oh, just adjusting the clock here. 8:06 to go.
It's interesting too. I mean, Frances Donders, I think she signed in Belgium following this QBL season. Obviously a very good player, but she hasn't come out and forced it too much today. So at least give these Toowoomba girls some credit. They're trying to run team offense at least.
Bairstow rattles home the three-pointer. Cheslick with the assist. It's 8-0 lead here early. Donders hands off of Parsons. Inside, hook shot is off. Ball goes out of bounds though off of Southwest. I said this when we covered Donders last season with the rip, and I think it holds true. She's a really talented offensive player. I think sometimes she's not aggressive enough for the teams that she's playing for. I think she's capable of getting double figures every game. I'm talking in the 20s, though, and I think she can do that.
Well, I was going to say that a minute ago when she comes out and doesn't force it, but sometimes you have to force it, and maybe she, like many professionals, are conscious of field goal percentage and stats, and I don't know, but I think she needs to shoot it 25 times, and for them to be 2 or 3 minutes into the game, and I don't think she's shot it yet, I don't think that's helping Toowoomba. So you can be unselfish, but by being that unselfish, it's almost selfish because your team needs you to shoot it.
Yeah, Parsons and Donders really need to carry the heavy load for Toowoomba to have an opportunity to win the game. They had a great game the other night versus Gold Coast, picking up the first win of the season. But it's been a rough season for Toowoomba.
Well, that would have been a barn burner, that one. Toowoomba versus Gold Coast in the women. I think it was 66-44 or 45 or something like that. So both teams struggling, but obviously nice for Toowoomba to get a win, especially on their home court, to reward their supporters that come out every week.
9-0 the lead here for Southwest. Just about 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. There's Donders looking inside. Hook shot is too strong from Charlton. Bairstow gets the rebound, shakes. Good inside pass. Cheslick recovers it and puts the layup in. Nice creativity there by Maddie Willie.
Definitely was, and before that, Steph Bairstow as well. I'm impressed every time we see them play, how well she's playing this year, shooting the ball and showing off the handle as well.
Cheslick, again, aggressive defensively, tips the ball out of bounds. I remember probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago, we were out here for Southwest, and they were struggling at the time. They had just gotten their full roster out, and I spoke to Coach Chaney, and Coach Chaney said he wanted to see more production out of Cheslick, and that conversation must have been a good one because Cheslick has been absolutely phenomenal since that time. She was good. She's had a great season all around, but I think she's just really stepped it up a notch offensively and defensively. I think she's kind of adjusted to the league, knows how the game is going to be called, and I think she's adjusted her game to the league and really taken Southwest to that next level.
I agree, and she's come into a fairly established group too, with obviously Sid Parsons and Besto and these girls that all know each other fairly well. So that's always a challenge sometimes to come in that sort of environment. So I agree, it's taken her a little bit of time to get really, really comfortable, but now that she is comfortable, she looks really good.
And especially when it's her first time playing in Australia as well as far as I believe. It's always different coming into an environment such as the Australian Basketball League. And the rules are different compared to America as well. So just trying to adjust to the way that the game is actually played in Australia compared to internationally is huge. But if she keeps playing the way that she is, I mean, she's going to easily hit a double-double tonight, maybe a triple-double, and she'll be crucial in the Southwest quarterfinal goal, I guess.
Yeah, she sure will.
Yeah, well, Southwest hasn't fully locked in the spot yet, but you'd have to like the position they're in. They're in that 8th spot. They've got a fairly favorable run home. They will have that tough matchup versus Ipswich next week, and of course the Spartans as well. So that Ipswich game could be huge, but the task at hand here for Southwest is to pick up the win today. They can't get anywhere without a win over Toowoomba.
No, and they're going to win, but they need to make sure that it's a convincing win playing their style of basketball.
Yeah, if anything, Dan George, today should just be like a really good warm-up match before coming up against Ipswich and Spartans next week, because those are going to be the two important games.
And Southwest comes out of that timeout with some pressure. It forces the turnover from Toowoomba. I like that Southwest coming out with pressure. They know that they know they should win this game, and they're playing to put it away early, I think.
Yeah.
Sky Reese drives baseline. She's double teamed. Gets it out to Willie. She'll fire the wing three. That's short. Tipped. Page comes down with it for Southwest. They get Reese for the travel. Sky Reese shuffled the feet there.
I think she has to be ready just to catch it and shoot it. Like catching it, not really looking to score, and I think shocked herself she was so open. Just caused her to shuffle the feet a little bit.
It's a turnover there. 11-0 the lead for Southwest. 5.5 to go. Willie pushing the pace, looks inside, great pass for Chesley. She can't finish, but she's fouled on the play there. Foul's looks like it's gonna go on Charlton. So Chesley gonna go to the line for a couple shots. Again, featuring Chesley is not a bad option for them. She's got 7 points already. She's perfect from the field. She's hit 1 of 2 free throws as well. Leading rebounder in the QBL women's competition, also leading shot blocker, so really great addition to this Pirates roster.
And I think those stats will be helped today, with the only possible hindrance being lack of playing time, because they're going to be up comfortably, you would expect. So her stats today will look really good as well, you would expect. And Southwest putting on some full court pressure here, which I don't know, like this Toowoomba squad, I know they've had some troubles, but they've essentially got 3 imports, and it's just tough for every club in the QBL to fundraise and get sponsors and bring in Americans, and it's just disappointing for them in their club that 3 imports, they just can't, for whatever reason this year, figure it out.
They've struggled offensively. They're struggling offensively here this afternoon as well, as it's 12-0 the lead here for Southwest over Toowoomba. We're under 5 to go now in the first quarter. Page going to get a breather. Celeste Williams checks in for Southwest. Bairstow in the corner. Shot is off. Cheslick with the offensive rebound, and Southwest will get an extra possession. Reese turnaround jumper is too long. Cheslick another offensive rebound. Back out to Reese. Jumper is off. Cheslick though tips it out.
And that's a no board to Chesley if the stats keepers are doing their job properly, which I'm sure they are.
Reese inside, blocked from behind. She recovers out to Willie. Inside to Cheslick, who missed the layup. Good defense there, though, by Emily Dirksen. Donders on the baseline, gets it over to Dirksen, short on the floater. Willie's pass is lost out of bounds by Sky Reese. Amanda Beatson getting set to check in for Southwest. As Ezria Parsons has it. She's a former Pirate.
Oh my goodness.
There's a 5-second violation there as Parsons under pressure turns it over. There's no excuse for that, is there, Dan?
I'm stunned. I don't know. I might ask for some guidance during the break in terms of topics to discuss, but there is just no excuse at all for that. I'm astounded. And I mean, obviously their coach has quit a couple of weeks before the season's finished. I'm not sure that they're practicing very much in Toowoomba at the moment if they don't have a coach. It's just the program is a mess, and you see there, Parsons picks up the dribble. No one moves. No one seems to really care, and it's just so disappointing in a league as good as ours with 3 imports and some juniors who aren't being developed, that this team seems to have just packed it in already.
Southwest switching everything. There's 8 seconds on the shot clock. Pass to Dirksen, and Dirksen's fouled from behind by Amanda Beatson. It's the first team foul on Southwest.
But I'm sure that there'll be a layup or a jump shot, or maybe there'll be some foul shots go down here, but we could very easily be looking at an 18-0 first quarter here, fellas.
It's certainly heading that way as Toowoomba turns the ball over on the baseline out of bounds play.
I think one of the things that you want to see, your team's struggling, it's unlikely you're going to get a win today. So they played last night, they come down the hill, they know that getting a W is going to be difficult. But you at least want to see them trying to run sets and actually try and work into some type of structure. But it's just apparent that they just don't know what they're running at the moment, and you just feel for them.
Willie, baseline jumper is too strong. Reese with another offensive rebound and puts it back in. Three-point attempt is up by Gardner. It's off. Beatson gets the defensive rebound. Willie floater is good. Just not challenging the ball. Willie just walked that one in the paint.
And if I'm Frances Donders here, her frustration must be at an all-time high. I'm just going to go and grab the ball. I'm going to ask for like a horn set at the top, and I'm just going to come off and create something for myself.
Donders has it now for Toowoomba.
See, but even there, she's got Beatson switched out on her. You've got to draw her out as a guard. You've got the center switched onto you. You've got to draw it out and attack her and try and create something. You've got 0 points in 8 minutes as a team. I wouldn't be giving that up at all. I'd be looking at that and saying, great, I've got a mismatch. Make something happen, because running an offense isn't working.
It is 16-0 here for Southwest. We got about 2 minutes to go now in the first quarter. We're going to get Frances Donder on the reach-in foul on Carmen Hanara Latu. So Williams checks out. Kelly Page checks back in for Southwest. Hanara Latu misses the floater. There's contact inside somewhere. That's going to go on Amanda Beatson. It's her second personal. It was a push from behind on Beatson. Saunders drives baseline, skips it over. Pass is tipped and stolen. Russell's pass was stolen. Bairstow with her head up, getting to the rim, misses the layup. Fight for the rebound. It winds up back with Bairstow. She misses the putback. And here comes Russell for Toowoomba. Good transition defense there from Southwest. Russell fire the wing three. It's too strong. Tipped out of bounds off the hands of Toowoomba. So Southwest has it now. Under a minute to go. They're up 16. Bairstow fires the three. That's good. She's got the jumper going. She's 2 of 3 from the three-point land this afternoon.
Just looks incredibly confident shooting the ball too. No hesitation at all. Just a really good-looking stroke.
She a WNBL player, Dan?
Well, I haven't seen enough of the WNBL. With 3 fast shots to come, here's Southwest's chance to avoid a 0 quarter. But I haven't seen enough WNBL maybe to make that comment. But based on what we've seen in the QBL, there must be some really good WNBL players that she's not in the league. And I think at her size, she can handle the rock, she can shoot it. She's shown one to be the greatest defensive player in the world, but very, very capable defensively. So rebounds well. So I'm thinking if she wanted to, without a team in Brisbane, maybe that's the problem. She might have a good job, who knows. But if she's willing to travel, I'm sure there'd be a team very happy to have her.
I mean, we know that she played WNBL previously. Certainly capable as Toowoomba gets on the board thanks to a Vanessa Horn free throw attempt. Do you think we'll see a WNBL team back in Brisbane, hopefully one of these days soon?
Well, I really hope so. And I remember going to watch SEQ Stars a couple of years ago down at Logan, and I just think it was so far out of the way for people to get to. That was one of the problems. But when there was no TV camera or live stream anywhere, and I just felt that the league obviously has had some challenges, whereas a few years ago they were on ABC every week. It was awesome. But I think for Brisbane, and with my daughter sitting next to me here, who may or may not be a basketball fan herself, but for little girls in Brisbane to grow up and have an NBL team to aspire to, I think is really important. So I really hope they do. And I got to see Beck Allen play and Ify Bekway and all these great girls. It was awesome. I loved it. So hopefully they do come back.
It's the second best women's league in the world. It really is.
Well, our women talent on the global stage are elite in terms of Australian women's basketballers.
Russell throws up the teardrop. That's off. Page comes down with it. 2 seconds on the shot clock. Southwest won't get the shot off, but they will head into the quarter-time break up 17, 19-2. We knew it was going to be tough for Toowoomba, Dan, but 2 points at the quarter-time break is going to be pretty tough to come back from. What were your thoughts on that first quarter of action?
Well, it was 2 points on a couple of foul shots on a fouled three-point shooter as well, so tough quarter. What else can you say? But I just think they need to. You've put in that much time during the season. You owe it to yourself to compete as hard as you can. There's 2 weeks left. They've won a game, great, but they're not going to win today. But you practice so much, you travel so much, you owe it to yourself to compete as best you can. And I just hope they can find a way to get a bit more structure and just get themselves some opportunities to score. They don't want to walk out of here with 30 points. They want to walk away with 40 or 50 and at least feel like they've competed. So hopefully they can figure that out.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with some quarter-time statistics. It's a 17-point lead for Southwest over Toowoomba. And your QBL Game of the Week presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Hibiscus Sports Complex. Start of the second quarter. It's a 19-2 lead for Southwest over at Toowoomba. You're looking at the quarter time statistics. 0 of 14 from the field for Toowoomba. They missed 2 from beyond the arc. Their 2 points come courtesy of 2 Vanessa Horn free throw attempts. They do have 10 rebounds, but again, Dan, turnovers killed them. 8 turnovers, and Southwest scored 6 of their 19 points off of the Toowoomba turnovers, and they come out and turn it over right away.
Yeah, and let's move off Toowoomba for a second. Southwest have 5 turnovers against a really bad Toowoomba defense. So, I mean, they're looking at 20 for the game, so they can't let a 19-2 scoreline mask some of their issues as well. They need to look after the ball and run their stuff too. Yeah,
5 turnovers. Southwest was 7 of 20 at the quarter time break from the field, so not shooting at a great clip either. Shelby Cheslick, though, leading the way. Cheslick had, where are we? 8 points. She also had 6 rebounds, 2 assists as well, so well on her way to a double-double, and like you said, Regan, possibly a triple-double. Good position. Cheslick, though, is looking for the foul call. Didn't get it and missed the layup. Donder's jump shot is short. And Willie comes down with it.
Well, much better from Francis, too. She had a turnover to start the quarter, which is not great. Missed jump shot, excuse me there, but at least she's trying to make something happen. And when you don't run any offense at all, you're going to have turnovers. You're going to miss jump shots, but at least they're staying aggressive. Hopefully that continues.
Donder's guarded by Bairstow. Picks up her dribble. Gets it over to Charlton. Now Russell going to fire another 3. That's short. Look at Willie. Willie's doing some work on the glass
as well. Willie's a triple-double threat today, too.
She's got to be. She's got 4 rebounds already, 3 assists. Bairstow misses the 3. Ball goes out of bounds, though, off with Toowoomba, so it'll stay with Southwest.
And no Sydney Parsons today, which is not a surprise. If you're nursing injuries, today is, as Cheslick, the more she plays internationally, the more she'll come to appreciate the missed layup offensive rebound stat line. For any big, just add the rebound count. You're happy to give up a missed field goal if it means you get another rebound to your stat line. Let's just put that out there.
Well,
so
we're not
she didn't do that, but that's what I mean. I'm sure she's upset she missed it, but when she looks back at the stats, she goes, man, I had 8 offensive rebounds. Those offensive rebounds are worth a lot. Anyway, I think when you have a game like today, it gives players with injuries like a Sid Parsons a chance to rest up and hopefully get some recovery in while your team can still get a win. So good opportunity for her, hopefully to get some health back as they prepare for the finals too, because she's going to be a really important part of whatever it is they end up doing.
It does affect the Southwest depth, obviously, taking Parsons out of the rotation. But they're fairly strong in the backcourt, but you still need someone like a Sydney Parsons. She has been battling that knee injury, it seems like almost all season.
Oh, I think it is all season, and if you look at her in the preseason, it's good, not great, and it just slowly gets a little bit worse. And 1 week off is not going to fix it, but hopefully it at least keeps her off her legs and lets her stay fresh for the next month or so coming up.
And Southwest, that Regan, like you said, has that huge doubleheader next weekend. This game is really important. Southwest can't look past it, but they do have that matchup directly with Ipswich, who they're fighting for those final 2 spots on the finals ladder.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next week as to whether Coach Chaney actually rests Sid Parsons for that Ipswich game or saves all of his strength for that Brisbane Spartans game. I mean, I don't know whether injecting Sid into the game is going to help them beat an undefeated Spartans or whether they just focus on that win against Ipswich.
Well, they did get a huge win versus Ipswich a couple weeks ago, which we covered as Willie steals it and lays it in. It's 29-2 here. About 7:40 to go in the first half. But if you're a Southwest, obviously you're concentrating on the game here, Dan, but you can't help but look forward to a doubleheader next weekend versus Ipswich and the Brisbane Spartans.
Oh, no doubt, and I think Regan, off the back of what you said, really good point. If I was coaching, I would just be saying that Ipswich game is an absolute must-win, non-negotiable, and if we can pick up a win against a Spartan, it's a bonus, but Ipswich is where it's all at if I'm playing for Southwest.
Another turnover for Toowoomba. Page layup is blocked. That's a good block. Resta recovers and puts it in.
And I think Spartans might be a little bit rattled after last weekend as well. They went into overtime against Sunshine Coast Phoenix, which is a game that they would have expected. They would have won
it was the rib, USC rib, yep.
And that's a game that they would have thought they would have won by quite a significant amount. So, you know, coming off that game in particular, Southwest might have that confidence to go into that game going, well, if they can almost lose to the rip, we can definitely get that win up on them.
And it'll be interesting to see now. You look at Spartans, they've wrapped up that top slot. So will they play everybody or do they rest heading into the finals? Logan with a few losses. Their record's at 14-3. Mackay's at 13-4. Spartan's still undefeated. So I will apologize. I thought they were still positioning, but Spartans have wrapped up the top slot.
Yeah, they sure have. An interesting result last night. Logan, I think, losing to Townsville on this trip, or might have been Friday night. But
Friday night, yep.
That's, the Cairns-Townsville trip's a tough one. No Mitch Young for the men I saw. I don't know what was up with that, but I think in the women at least, Townsville in 5th, knock off Logan in 2nd. It's just such a good even competition. Spartans are ahead above, but everyone else is. Gladstone, who we saw early in the year, they've got a lot of good pieces. It's just a really interesting league, and Southwest at 7-7, still right there.
Yeah, well, you look at the bottom of the ladder, and when I say bottom, we're looking at 5, 6, 7, and 8. We've got Townsville currently in 5th spot at 9-5, Ipswich at 9-7. If Southwest can get that win today, they move into 8-7. They're only that half a game behind Ipswich with the matchup to come against the Force. So that's going to be a huge game next weekend, Southwest and Ipswich.
Yeah, it sure is.
I think everyone wants to try to avoid that Spartans first-round matchup, though.
I would think so. And I mean, the Ipswich Southwest matchup, we saw against Logan, the two girls in the front court for the Force are fantastic, but so are Steph Besto and Cheslick. What a great matchup that'd be.
And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I shouldn't say that, but Southwest was able to get the better of that matchup a couple weeks back when we had the Force versus Southwest Metro here. That's, again, another turnover from Toowoomba. It's 31-2, 6:45 to go in the first half. Then foul call there on Dirksen. She's trying to slow down Steph Bairstow. Good call by the referee on the blocking foul.
The nice thing, simple defensive rules from a team perspective are so important. And if I'm Dirksen there, I should know that if I get beat middle, there's no help at all. So you have to push baseline. That's where all your team defensive help is. If Steph Bairstow can turn the corner like that, it's game over. She can get her feet in the paint.
Southwest turns it over. Francis Donders back in for Tracy Russell. Gardner running the show at the moment for Toowoomba. Russell's going to step back and fire the jump shot. It's off. Tipped out of bounds, though, by Bairstow. So Toowoomba will maintain it with a fresh shot clock. Parsons takes the inbounds pass, gets it over to Donders. Six to go on the shot clock. Donders has it, gets the shot off. It's off. Bounces to Bairstow. Cross-court passes, stolen, though, by Francis Donders.
Well, one of the highlights, at least, of Toowoomba's season, which there aren't too many, is that I believe Francis is still leading the league in steals. So good to see her pick up another one there, and I don't know, that might lead to her playing the lanes really aggressively most games, but especially today. And just got to take the little wins, don't you? And there aren't too many of them. So if you can pick up 3 or 4 steals again, I think she had 7 against the Gold Coast.
Three-point attempt is too strong from Gardner. Here comes Southwest on the transition offense. They're going to bring it back out.
These long jump shots from Toowoomba, I guess they're taking what Southwest is going to give them, but we have played 15 minutes of action. Toowoomba have not had a field goal go in the hoop. Quite incredible.
It's they're, to me, they need to do something to get Donders' action going to the basket.
They have to, and to me that is Francis, take the ball right where we are right now. Steph Bestow's guarding you. She's 3 or 4 inches taller. She has a big knee brace on. You should be able to go by her if you're a guy like Francis. I'm sure she probably could. Dribble to the wing, get an on ball, get a second on ball in the middle of the floor, and let Frances come off 2 picks. She can turn the corner, she can create, do something. But the way they're doing it at the moment, obviously, is not working.
It's almost as though they're hesitating and they're afraid to go inside against the likes of, Cheslek and Bairstow. They're just afraid to actually dribble penetrate down the center of the court and get those easy layups. So they're risking the long 3 bombs, which it's just not working for them. In 15 minutes of basketball, they're just not getting those long shots, but they're not willing to take on the bigs on the inside.
Hagan gets called for the block and foul on Willie. That's the 4th team foul. It's one more, and the Toowoomba Mountaineers will be in the penalty.
To me, they've got enough talent to compete, and they don't have enough talent to win the whole league, but they've got enough talent to compete in most games. 3 imports. If your imports aren't that good, that means you've recruited poorly, but they've got 3 imports, plus some juniors and locals who are capable. To me, it just looks like a really horribly coached team that have no structure or chemistry at all. And you can't fix that in the last week or 2 of the season. That's got to go back to February and March when you're putting your structures in place. And it's just a shame for a team that's obviously, or a club rather, that's worked really hard to put a team on the floor with international players, and they, like the Toowoomba basketball people deserve better than what they're seeing so far.
Yeah, we were out in Toowoomba earlier in the season when they played against Rockhampton, and it's a passionate fan base. They love the Mountaineers down there. It's an unfortunate season that they've had on both the women and the men. But what are some of the challenges you have out in Toowoomba? Again, it is out in Toowoomba. Players, they don't have that NBL feeder talent, I guess, that some of the clubs here in Brisbane have. But you'd like to think that you can maybe attract a couple of the Bullets guys, or on the women's side, some of the former WNBL players that are still around the area to maybe come out to Toowoomba and play.
Well, I agree with all of that, but even if you can't attract it, you've got some local players who you need to develop. Like Emily Dirksen is not going to be a superstar QBL player, but she has all the skills to be a very capable QBL player for sure. There are some other girls that you look around and they've got some talent and they all play hard. You then have the ability to bring in Frances Donders, Parsons, and then the big New Zealand girl as well, whose name escapes me, I apologise. But there's 3 imports that you've brought into the club. So if it's me, I'm bringing in 3 imports. I'm going to scout them really, really well and know who I'm bringing in that complement my locals. They're going to be the focus point every year, and then these juniors are going to get the confidence that they can put up 5 or 6 points, 2 or 3 rebounds a game. And if you have 3 or 4 of them doing that, you're competitive. And I don't think it's that hard.
We'll have to get you a general manager spot, Dan, and challenge you to put a QBL roster together and see your results.
I would love to. And not only that, like I would love to coach this Toowoomba women's team. Like I'm not suggesting that I can, but like I would love to.
We'll get you the contract after the game.
Well, they obviously need a coach. Whoever's going to go up there is going to start with a completely fresh slate. In fact, it's a negative slate because there's some, like a bad breakup. Everyone's got baggage. These girls are going to have baggage after a year like this. As we knock down a 3, well done.
Courtney Hagan with the 3, first bucket of the game for Toowoomba. Shot it with confidence too. It was a good-looking jumper.
No doubt. And the shot before that wasn't pretty, but she had the confidence to step up and shoot it again. So give her credit. It's fantastic. But whoever takes this Toowoomba job is going to start with a completely fresh slate, having to recruit 2 new imports and maybe some other locals to come and join the contingent they've already got. So there's a challenge there, but I mean, that's what should energize a coach. If you love basketball, that's the sort of stuff that, as Frances makes some night, she needs to do that more often. But that's the kind of thing that should energize a coach. That's a great opportunity to go in and put your stamp on a program. And if you're 1-19, next year you're 5-13, and the next year after that you're 8-12 or whatever, that's awesome. And that should be something that most young coaches want to take a challenge on.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Donders with the bucket gives Toowoomba 5 straight points. Coach Cheney takes a timeout for Southwest, so we'll take one as well. 35-7 the lead for Pirates over Toowoomba with 2:07 to go in the first half. Your QBL Game of the Week presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you at Hibiscus Sports Complex, 35-7 the lead for Southwest over Toowoomba. Good time out there taken by Coach Cheney. Thought the team was getting a little sloppy there, letting Toowoomba get off 2 shots in a row for their first 2 points, or first 2 field goals, I should say, of the afternoon. And Coach Cheney doesn't want to see his team take the foot off the gas. He wants them to stamp this win and get a nice solid win heading into that doubleheader weekend next weekend.
Well, I like the timeout from Coach Cheney as well, because today, or Southwest, it's not about today and it's not about Toowoomba. It's obviously about all the games still to come and then hopefully a postseason play as well. So they need to stay disciplined, which is awesome.
Donders, another jump shot, that one short. Page chases down the rebound. I think Southwest has gone away from Cheslick. You got to think they're going to be looking to feature her again as Tees turns it over, though. Trying to get it inside to Cheslick. Parsons holding it on the wing. Donders on the block. Gets the jumper to fall. That's a good move there from Frances Donders.
I like it. It's just being aggressive and give her, she finds ways to get buckets, and hopefully she's going to do that more and more. And I don't know, you want to see her put up decent numbers because, like, I follow her on social media. She trains really hard in the gym every day, so you want to see players like that rewarded.
Tees hit the 3 on the one end. Charlton missed the layup on the other. Hey, Donders does a great work, though, with the kids also out there. She does a lot of coaching and training as well. So
she sure does. And she did it on the Sunshine Coast last year, and they all loved her there. She's doing it in Toowoomba, and the committee love her there. I mean, that sort of personality. And again, if I was coaching, I'd bring her back for sure.
Another 3-pointer there from Hagan. Toowoomba is finding the stroke here in the second half of the quarter. It's 40-12. Almost a little bit too little too late, almost. There's 5 on the shot clock. Willie floats one up. It's off. Parsons comes down with it. She's going to have to get a shot off quickly if she wants to, but the clock runs out. And heading into halftime, it's a 40-12 lead for Southwest over Toowoomba. Southwest kind of slowed down a little bit in the second half of the quarter there. And Toowoomba picked up a little bit of momentum heading into the halftime.
Yeah, they did, and I think we've spoken about Toowoomba a lot. But to bring it back to Southwest, you want them to stay focused and stay committed to what they're trying to do. And like we've said a couple of times, it's not about Toowoomba. They've got to make sure that they're playing the style that they want to play. And that's the challenge when you're up by 30 points at halftime. The challenge is to come out and stay disciplined. But if they're going to be legitimate in the playoffs, they need to be able to do that.
So it is the halftime. It is 40-12 for Southwest over Toowoomba. We'll take a break. We'll come back with some halftime statistics and the second half of action in your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Hibiscus Sports Complex. 40-12 the lead for Southwest at the half over the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Looking at the halftime statistics, Southwest with that big lead, they've got 2 players in double figures. Steph Bairstow leads all scorers with 12 points. She's also got 4 rebounds and an assist. The other player in double figures for Southwest was Shelby Cheslick. She's nearly at that double-double already. She's got 11 points and 8 rebounds. She also has 2 assists. No blocks yet, though, which I'm surprised. Sorry, I should say. She does have the 1 block. Southwest in the half shot 39% from the field. 4 of 9 from three-point land as well. Only 4 of 7 from the free throw line. And that's Shelby Cheslick going 3 of 5 and Bairstow going 1 of 2. Toowoomba, you look at their stats. They had 4 field goals all in that second quarter. They're 4 of 29 from the field. 2 of 7 from 3, though, so a couple of those buckets were 3-pointers. But they really need someone to step up to try and carry that momentum that they picked up a little bit in that second quarter.
Yeah, they do, and I don't think anyone's going to be a 30-point scorer today for them, so they need 4 or 5 girls to step up and all have 12 or 13 points, which means they need to run better offense than what we've seen so far. And I think the reason Southwest haven't had too many foul shots is that Toowoomba's not playing good enough defense to foul them. I think they're just going uncontested, laying it up, so that might be a little bit misleading as well. But
yeah, you look at Southwest, too. They have 16, they got 10 assists on 16 field goals, so doing a pretty good job sharing the ball around. And this is your song here, Thunder.
It's not my song. I love it. This is, with any loyal listeners of our broadcast know my love affair for Jeff the Hornet Horn, the boxer from Brisbane. This is his ring walk song. Takes me back.
If it doesn't get you pumped up, I don't know what will, Dan. And they were talking about the Horn facing off against Pacquiao again in November. I don't know if it's locked in, but gee, it would be a great opportunity again for the Horn to really, he's put himself on the map, but he could really rubber stamp his spot in the rankings if he could get a second win over Pacquiao.
Well, he's number 1, so that will happen if Pacquiao, like, that's up to him. Jeff Horn will go and fight someone else, but there's a rematch clause that if Pacquiao wants to fight again, they'll fight again in November. And you would think with Brisbane's weather, having it at Suncorp would be a risk, so they might take it to Etihad or something.
Yeah, well, I remember hearing about that. They wanted to take it down to Sydney, but Anastasia Palaszczuk is not having a bar of it. She's saying that if it's coming, it's definitely coming back to Queensland, but as to where it'll be held, it's a different story.
You can't have the entertainment. You can't have 52,000 people there and then, because it's going to rain, you hold it at the entertainment centre at Boondall with 12,000. You can't do that.
It would be too hot in November, though, to have it at Suncorp again, you would think.
Well, the heat and the rain risk, it's too risky. You can't do that, so it's got to be somewhere else. But wherever it is, I'll be there.
Well, you were at the first one. You said it was just an amazing experience to be part of that, wasn't it, Dan?
Oh, it was phenomenal. It was absolutely incredible. I've been lucky to go and watch him spar a few times as well. So you see up close as Cheslick continues to remain unstoppable in the post, but you see him spar against some pretty good competition right up close at his trainer's gym over in Stretton, and it's just amazing to watch that whole journey, and to have it capped off with the win like he had is unforgettable.
And what were your thoughts, Dan, on the controversy around the decision? But then to have it verified from independent referees as well. As Toowoomba missed a gimme there, that was a tough look. It was a great look. Charlton just couldn't finish.
So I don't know enough about boxing to pretend to break that scoreline down, but a 115 to 113 scoreline is basically saying Jeff Horn won 7 rounds and Pacquiao won 5. And the 9th round might have been a double point round for Pacquiao because he won it convincingly, but I think anyone who was there would agree that Jeff Horn won 7 rounds, and I think it's fair. So I think it's a decent result and a justified result. I mean, he won. I mean, Manny Pacquiao was pretty beat up as well by the end of it. So it was an awesome fight, very close, but 7 rounds to 5 in Jeff Horn's favour, I think, is a fair result. And that's what they called on the day, and that's what the re-officials, when they re-educated or re-scored it or whatever you want to call it, that's what they found as well.
I think if we were going to stick with the boxing analogy, this game here is a first-round knockout for Southwest. Game's pretty much over. It's a 33-point lead, but credit to Toowoomba. They're sticking in there. They're playing. They seem to have picked up the intensity a little bit to start the second half at least.
Well, this is why we can chat about Jeff Horn, because there's not a whole lot to talk about on the floor. And you're right, this is a Mike Tyson first 5-second knockout today. I think it was 16 or 18 to 0 before a couple of foul shots for Toowoomba. So an ugly game, but you're right. Toowoomba is at least playing hard. And as good or as bad as things go, for teams at least competing hard, then it's hard to critique them too hardly.
Charlton going to get a breather. Dirksen checks back in. 45-12 the lead. Toowoomba again going to the bench. Gardner checking in for Parsons. Parsons been pretty quiet this afternoon also. She's only attempted one field goal, one attempt at least. Good double team from Southwest. Ball movement leads to Donders now, getting her feet in the paint. Lose the ball on her way to the bucket though. Willie gonna stop and pop and hit. Hasn't Maddie Willie been great for Southwest this season also?
Yeah, she's played really well. Every game we've seen her, she's just consistent. You know what you're going to get out of her every week, which is awesome.
Look inside, pass is too strong. Another turnover for Toowoomba. To me, with Southwest, and one critique I will say, and it's not against them individually or as a team, but to me, that chemistry with Willie and Sydney Parsons in particular, it was always, I don't know if they have fully gelled, even to this point in the season, and you'd think if they could gel, they really, really could be a dangerous team to face in the finals, but to me, it just hasn't fully happened yet for Southwest this season.
Yeah, I think that's got something to do with the fact that Maddie Willie's obviously come back from being in Gladstone for a couple of seasons, and she had a really great few seasons up there as well. So she would have been the lead, the lead guard while she was there. Come back down here, and she's just trying to gel back into the fact that in terms of Southwest, Sid Parsons is the lead guard, and I don't think Maddie Willie's quite been able to cope with the fact that Sydney is their lead guard, she is the lead ball dribbler, and Maddie just has to sit back into that 2 position instead. But as the seasons go on, they continue to play together. That is going to gel. It is going to mesh, and both girls are going to start working together a little bit better than what it is at the moment.
It's definitely gotten better, but I also think could have helped a bit if they had gelled a little bit quicker. Could have helped Southwest with the positioning on the ladder up to this point, at least I should say. But not to take anything away from Willie, she's been amazing. She's been great for Southwest, as has Parsons. Sydney Parsons might not have had the season she had, but I think it's also a lot to do with the injuries that she's faced this season. She's been banged up pretty much all year long.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, Maddie Willie's done a really great job of stepping back up into that one position with Sid Parsons being out for several weeks with that injury. And I mean, today here is an exact example of that. She's really leading the team out on the floor, and it's really evident what she's doing to take over from Sid Parsons.
49-14 the lead here. Cheslick going to go to the line for a couple shots. On the afternoon, Cheslick's taken 5 free throw attempts. She's 3 of 5. She's got that double-double. She's got the 13 points, 12 rebounds. She's also got 2 assists and the block shot. Missed the first one. Celeste Williams getting set to check in. Cheslick missed them both. Page, though, with a big offensive rebound. Turnovers and offensive, and the lack of rebounding, I guess you'd say, has really, really hurt Toowoomba this afternoon. As Sky Reese goes over the back, gets called for the foul. Williams going to check in. She's going to check in for Kelly Page. Toowoomba going to take a timeout, so we'll take one as well. 4:40 to go. It's a 49-14 lead for Southwest over Toowoomba in your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you at Hibiscus Sports Complex, 49-14 the lead for Southwest over at Toowoomba. Mountaineers taking the timeout. Good timeout to be taken. They've struggled again here in the third. They've only got the one bucket. Kind of tighten things up. I think they've tightened things up a little bit more defensively, though. They've been better in this third quarter here on the defensive side of the ball.
They definitely have, yep, there's no doubt about it. So definite improvements to start the third quarter. The challenge is obviously to maintain that and keep the scoreline somewhat respectable if possible.
They've gotten better looks as Donders comes off, fires the jumper, which is off. Tipped out of bounds off of Toowoomba. But they have gotten a bit better action as well, more action at the basket, and also getting Donders a few open jump shots, which he can definitely is capable of hitting.
Well, those are the shots you want them taking. If anyone's going to shoot jumpers, you want it to be Donders. But Ezra Parsons has 10 boards, which is great, but one shot attempt. She's got to find a way to get involved as well.
And they're going to get Dirksen for the personal foul there. They thought it was going to be a travel, as it was a good contest there by Dirksen, but she obviously got some of the body as well. So Steph Bairstow going to go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Bairstow's 1 of 2 from the line today. And we've got to give the referees a bit of credit here as well. They've let both teams play. Southwest have shot, that's the 10th free throw attempt for Southwest so far on the afternoon, and Toowoomba has gone 2 of 3 from the free throw line. So referees letting them play, which is nice to see.
Yeah, especially in a game like this as well. Like, you want it to be fairly free-flowing, and you don't want to continue stopping an already, blown-out game. You don't want to have to stop every, 10, 15 seconds for an out-of-bounds or a travel or a foul. So it's good that they're letting the girls actually play, and I think everyone on the court respects that as well.
The other thing, Regan, on that is these Toowoomba girls, I guarantee, want that final buzzer to go as soon as it possibly can. They do not want the clock stopped at all. They want to get out of here.
Three-pointer from Reese is too strong. Good defensive rebound there by Ezria Parsons. Donders working it inside. Great pass for Dirksen, who loses it on the way up. She recovers it, though. There's 10 on the shot clock. Donders has it now. Inside for
Good
Parsons. Pass. Blocked there by Amanda Beatson, though. Then the skip ahead, though, by Willie is too strong for Beatson. But, yeah, I think that you can see that play there is perfect for what today's game was. Beatson gets the block on the defensive end, then beats everybody down the court for the potential layup attempt.
Big who can run the floor is worth a lot, absolutely.
Just too strong of a pass there from Willie. Steal there from Sateri Vodorosova. She's checked in for Southwest. Donders pass inside for Dirksen, who flips it up. It's off, but she's fouled, so Dirksen going to go to line for a couple shots. How about the bullet pass, though, from Frances Donders? It's a great look. Good catch there by Dirksen, too.
Very good catch. You can just see how in a more, especially European, just a more structured, more disciplined system where Frances Donders could be a really good player. Good passer, knockdown shooter. It's just unfortunate this Toowoomba team might not quite be the right fit. I'm not sure who it would be the right fit for, though. But onwards and upwards, in a way, it's good. I don't know. You'd almost rather just have a complete clear out that this season will create, as opposed to just missing the finals by one spot and thinking you're almost there. So maybe it's an opportunity for them just to completely start over and reassess everything.
And like you said earlier as well, guys, like they do have such a massive supporter base up in Toowoomba as well. I mean, they probably have almost the most sponsors out of everyone in the QBL league. They've got some amazing fan base. The game that we did up there against Rocky, I think you said it was, John, as well. There were so many supporters there in the crowd supporting the team. And, I mean, they've got the likes of John Gouldson, who I saw an article about on Facebook the other day. I mean, 50 years worth of dedicated service to the Toowoomba Mountaineers is absolutely massive, and it's a club that everyone loves and everyone wants to be a part of. So if they can, clear out some of the negative energy from the season so far, they could have a great 2018 season. They just need to get a couple of ducks in a row.
Well, those rural clubs even like in the Seawall competition, same thing. Like those rural clubs are oftentimes the most supported. In that you're in Brisbane, like the Capitals, the Pirates, the Logan Thunder, the Spartans, they've got to go and compete with this huge city. Whereas in Toowoomba, how many teams are there for the community to support, both for people to go and watch sport, but also for sponsors? And really, during winter, there might be a rugby league team and there might be the Mountaineers. So it gives them an opportunity like it gives Gladstone and Rockhampton and Mackay and Geelong and Bendigo and Hobart and all these other teams around Australia who are regional, a chance to really create a great supporter base and a great corporate supporter base as well. So they have all the tools, you're right, Regan, to put together a great program. And they've got a really nice gym they play out of. The weight room that they use looks really good. Like they've got all the facilities and all the resources to be a great program. But unfortunately, this year in the men and women, they just haven't quite figured it out.
Yeah, I think it's a scenario where they just need to invest a solid amount of money to bring a coach up from Brisbane, pay them a decent amount of money, and actually just restructure the way their QBL program is run, and just work from the ground up to actually just build that foundation and put together a dedicated, strong team. I mean, you know, almost someone, not that I'm ever going to let him leave Southwest, but someone like a Jason Chaney who's worked in a WNBL program, who's built an entire team for the SEQ Stars. You need someone like that to structure the program and to get things rolling again for the Mountaineers.
And I think the key, Dan, to those successful regional teams is also a strong base, junior base. So it's not necessarily at the QBL level where you're looking for that coaching improvement. You really have to, I think, invest the time and the effort and the money in that junior development, because at the end of the day, these competitions and the QBL as a whole, yes, you're going to have imports, and yes, you're going to be able to bring other people in. But if you don't have that solid foundation of developing your own players and getting them to that QBL level, which is really the goal of the QBL, is for you to develop your own juniors and have them as that solid base, that's where you're going to struggle.
Well, I agree. But it's also a little bit of chicken or the egg to that too, because I'm not sure there's too many girls in Toowoomba at the moment who go to a Mountaineers ladies game and aspire to be like that, because they're watching a team get beaten by 60 points every week. So you need to create, and you don't want to just bring people in, give them some money and let them leave at the end of the season. You want people who are going to hang around, but you want to make sure that you're putting a program on the floor and a product out there that the juniors can look at and love and be inspired. And then you've got to go down the other end and start bringing those girls up to therefore get to that level. So I think there's a bit of a need to address both. You need a great QBL program that people can look to and want to go and be like and aspire to be a part of. But you also need to make sure that if, like Frances Donders leaves after one season, there's someone coming in behind her.
Well, you have to get the foundation right, though, for sure. And I think, to me, having someone like Donders who's doing that work in the community, even though you haven't had the success with her that you'd hope on the court, she's starting to help to build that foundation, doing the work that she does with the juniors. So maybe you bring her back because of that relationship that you have with the junior program and encouraging the kids to try and aspire to get to that QBL level.
Yeah, I would bring her back. If I was coaching, I would try and bring her back next season. And I would look for a new American in the front court of like an athletic forward to partner with her. Someone like we've seen in Ipswich, Walker, maybe someone like that. And they would be the cornerstone of what I'd be doing. Then I'd just put a lot of time into my juniors and make sure that they knew their role, they had confidence, and they knew the system and they were loving to be a part of it. And maybe that would create a bit more of a winning culture that they could enjoy being around.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sateri Vodorosova for Southwest went down, looked like with an ankle injury. She's getting treatment from the physio, so let's hope that she's okay. That brings back Carmen Hanara Latu back onto the court for Southwest, as Beatson hits another little layup attempt. Yeah, another quarter in single digits has not helped Toowoomba here. Better defensively, but just still struggling to score offensively.
I'm not sure why Francis would look to pass out of the post. If you get a one-on-one post up, you got to shoot the ball.
Deep jumper there is hit by Charlton. So it's the second bucket in the quarter for Toowoomba. Southwest going to be able to hold for the final shot of the third. Hanara Latu gets called for the travel. She was looking for the give and go there. So just under 5 seconds to go in the third quarter. Coach Chaney wants his Pirates to pick up full court. Parsons catches, and they're going to get Bairstow for the blocking foul. That's the 15th foul. It's going to send Parsons to the free throw line for a couple shots.
That's a really bad foul, obviously. Not to state the obvious. 1.8 seconds left. Parsons dribbles to the corner. Perfect place to trap it. You're in the bonus, so got to be a little bit. That's the kind of play, though, if you coach Chaney, well, you're up by 40 points. Doesn't really matter. But that's the kind of awareness that you got to have, because you can't do that in the playoffs.
And we're sitting next to the Southwest bench, and you could hear Coach Chaney the entire time saying, no fouls, no fouls, no fouls. And then you pick up the foul. So frustrated from a coaching perspective as well.
I think sometimes you have to use different wording as well. It's like saying, don't think of an apple. Oh, I just thought of an apple.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to say, hands off, hands out, move your feet. If you say, don't foul, oh, foul. Oh, sometimes it's easy to foul by mistake.
Well, that's the end of the third quarter, and it's a 56-17 lead for Southwest over Toowoomba. We'll take a break. We'll come back with some statistics and the final quarter of action here on your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. .17 the lead for Southwest over Toowoomba. There's a 5-point quarter there for Toowoomba. Really not much else to say there, is there, Dan?
Statistics for yourself. You've got 13 turnovers against a bad defensive team. There's a few things there that stand out that show that you've got a lot of things you can focus on and clean up as well.
Willie going to fire the three. It's short. Tees with the offensive rebound. Our pass is nearly stolen by Donders, but Willie recovers. Goes inside for Renee Tees. Misses the layup. Beats an offensive rebound. Puts it in. Donders from the elbow. Jump shot too strong. If you're Coach Chaney, though, Dan, what do you want to see out of Southwest in this final quarter? Game's over at this point.
Sure is.
What are you looking for, though, heading into a huge weekend next weekend when you face off against Ipswich, a team you're battling for finals position, and the team that's number one on the ladder and undefeated, the Brisbane Spartans? So
let's say that next weekend, if we can just play a hypothetical game for a second, you're playing against Ipswich, and Steph Bester is a great shooter, and like her shot looks so pure, but I'd love to see her get to the rim a little bit more as well. Sometimes settles for it, in my opinion. But to answer your question, let's say hypothetically, next weekend we're in Ipswich, we're down by 3 points, there's 4 minutes left. If we lose, we're done for the season. What are you going to run in that case? What are you going to give Ipswich a steady diet of to try and get that win? Do you want Cheslick, Willie on balls? Do you want to run something to get Steph Besto jump shots? What would you run? And Coach Chaney knows that. That's the exact kind of thing that they need to run right now in preparation for that. So to answer your question, I think they need to, hopefully they know what they want to run, who they want to get shots for, and how to execute, and they need to make sure they do that now against Toowoomba, even though Toowoomba aren't that good, because next week those habits will hopefully pay off.
And the matchup next weekend is a Saturday night matchup out at Ipswich versus the Ipswich Force. And then they have to back up the next day on the Sunday to take on the Spartans at the Spartans. So both games on the road as well. So bit of a challenge in that sense that you have to travel on the Saturday night and then back up on the Sunday. Back-to-back tough matchups as well. But it's good to have that. If you're Southwest, though, you'd have to be happy that that Ipswich game is first, because that's the real one. That's the direct battle with the team that you're just trailing on the ladder.
Yeah, no doubt. And it allows you as well all week to focus on that game. So I think all their practice, all their scouting, all their video work should be on that Ipswich game. And that's how it should be anyway. If they were playing Spartans first, I would do that for the Spartans. I think you focus on that first game each weekend.
And if you're Spartans, though, Dan, what do you do? Do you rest your team on those matchups, knowing that you've locked in the top spot? You can't move up and you can't move down. Do you play a full squad in that matchup on the Sunday versus Southwest?
Yeah, I would. I am not sure that resting players helps you. If there's injured players, or if there's a girl that has a bit of a tender ankle because it's touch and go, she could play, but maybe she could get a break. I think in that case, you would rest someone. But if everyone's healthy, you got to play everybody.
Courtney Hagan hits another three. She's been a bright spot for Toowoomba here this afternoon, shooting the ball fairly well.
Well, and a possession ago when there was a shot clock violation, Frances Donders gave her an earful, and Courtney Hagan gave her a bit back. So it's great to see a young girl have that and then step up and knock down another jump shot.
Yeah, Hagan on the afternoon. She's 2 of 4 from the field. She's got 6 points, both from three-pointers. Miscommunication.
I don't know. Let's skip that possession. I think she might have three-point. I thought she had
maybe,
2 in the first half.
I thought so too. Maybe my stats haven't refreshed in time.
Potential. I think she hit 2 in the first half, and then another one just then. In fact, I would bet my Subway sandwich on it.
That's gone.
I know.
We're starving here. Dan feeds
3
himself.
5 from downtown. There we go.
All
9
right.
points in 9 minutes.
You owe yourself another Subway.
Well, I'm taking my beautiful daughter out to the Bodyguard musical at QPAC tonight. So we'll be eating something beforehand. We owe ourselves a nice dinner.
I can sense Guzman y Gomez in your future, Hallie.
I think you're right.
Donders pounding the rock, picks up her dribble. Hagan has it again. She's got 4 on the shot clock. She's got to do something here.
Oh my goodness. I haven't. Courtney.
Not sure what happened there. Charlton wasn't ready for the pass.
Charlton actually put her hands up to try and avoid it, and it hit her. Later in the shoot, Courtney Hagan's looking at her like, what are you doing? I passed it to you.
Got to be ready for the pass at all times. 58-20 the lead here for Southwest. Celeste Williams has it stolen by Donders.
Well, Frances does have very active hands. No wonder she's at the top or near the top for steals in the league. Saw it again there. So that's the frustrating thing, I think, for a Toowoomba supporter. There's these glimpses of quality that you just go, man, I know it's there somewhere. You just have to try and get it out. But a little bit too late this season, unfortunately for them.
Ezra Parsons has done a great job on the glass also for Toowoomba. She's got 15 rebounds, 3 of which are offensive. I'd like to see her get a little more involved in the offensive well. She's only taken 3 shots all afternoon.
Well, she has to get more involved, and she's tried to go inside a couple of times in the length of Cheslick, and Bairstow's given her some trouble, but she needs to work off the elbows, space the floor out, take these bigger girls off the dribble maybe, but I mean, she's doing a good job on the glass, like you said, but you got to find a way to put some points on the board as well.
Southwest going to take a timeout with 5:30 to go in the game. We'll take one as well. 58-20 the lead for Pirates over Toowoomba on your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you at Hibiscus Sports Complex. 58-20 the lead for Southwest over the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Looking at some statistics, leading the way for Southwest and leading all scorers is Steph Bairstow with 16 points. But Dan, she's done it on 5 of 16 shooting. She hasn't really had the jump shot working this afternoon. Still, though, has 16 points on the afternoon.
And shooters shoot the ball. So whether you're 5 of 16 or 11 of 16, if you got a shot, you got to shoot it. And I think this team needs her to score, and she knows that. So you don't want to discourage it, but I also think you have to recognise that if the jumper's not there, and from her 3 ball's been all right, 3 of 6 from downtown. It's a mid-range game where she struggled. I think the next level for her to get to is if she can knock down the 3 like she can, but she can also put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. That makes her unguardable, I think. So that's the challenge for her. I'd love to see her try and get to the line a little bit more as well. Put some pressure on the defense by maybe shot fake penetrating, go in the post and post up a bit more. But it's hard to be critical. She's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, the shot's been a bit flat at times today, I think. She's shot it well from deep, like you said, percentage-wise. As a tough floater hit there by Tracy Russell. But Bairstow, the mid-range is where she struggled, like you said. But she can be a difference maker. If she gets that 3-point shot going, I think Southwest can beat anybody, including Spartans. If she gets, I think that 3-point shot, though, is really the difference maker for me. When we've seen Southwest at their best this season, the 3-point shot, particularly from Bairstow, has been falling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's had a really high percentage across the season from that 3-point line, and she's just got such a good vision for it as well as to when she should be taking that shot and when she should be passing off.
And we saw Bairstow finish inside there, but like you said, that adds another dimension to her game. Quite often, if she's sitting outside, she doesn't have that capability to get inside because she's got the vision and the passing skills that if she gets it inside and they collapse on her, she can kick it out as well. She's got great vision and great creativity.
And I think that's going to be the biggest advantage for her in trying to get a WNBL contract as well, is the fact that she does have such a wealth of knowledge for basketball, and she has that vision to know when to take a shot, to drive players out to her, to kick off when needed as well. I mean, she wouldn't be the best player on the court in a WNBL team, but she would be a very, very strong, 3 or 4 player deep to just give them that little bit of an extra boost.
Yeah, good foul there by Sky Reese, not letting Parsons finish.
Just to finish that comment on Steph Bairstow, Celestine gets a steal off the inbound, gives it to Steph, who's on the charge circle, takes one retrievable, shoots a 1-foot fadeaway jump shot, and never looked like missing. So I think sometimes we can sit here and say, get to the rim or do that. Man, if you can shoot the rock and you know you can shoot it, just shoot it. And 5 of 16, I don't know, most weeks, if you look, Regan, you're right at her percentages, she's not shooting 5 of 16 on the season. Shooting at a pretty good clip, so sometimes you just got to let these girls play to their strengths, and if that's shooting the rock, then forget laying it up, just let it fly.
And in saying that, we also don't take into consideration the skill that they probably want Bairstow shooting those outside shots because it makes the defense stay honest as Bairstow trains the 3. But it keeps the defense honest. You can't cheat off of her, which opens up driving lanes for the likes of Maddie Willie and Sydney Parsons, and also keeps things tight and single coverage for Cheslick inside.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that 3-bomb from outside from Bairstow really opens up Cheslick to get the O-board right underneath the bucket, especially against teams like Toowoomba where they're not big. I mean, if Bairstow misses that, you don't really care because Cheslick's going to get that rebound and either take the shot straight away or dish back out for another set.
And I think one of the reasons Frances Donders looks so incredibly frustrated is that she can't penetrate and get layups because there's 5 Southwest defenders in the paint most possession, or at least 4 most possessions, so they're shooting jump shots. But on the other end, Toowoomba doesn't have anyone really in the paint defensively because everyone's a threat. And you're right, Steph Bairstow and these other girls spread the floor so well. So Coach Chaney, I think what we're trying to say is he's got a lot of tools that come playoff time are going to be pretty valuable and gives them every chance, despite finishing 7th or 8th or 6th, whatever it ends up being, every chance to go and compete with the top teams in the comp.
It'll be interesting to see. I think the key is going to be whether Sydney Parsons can play, and not only play, but she really does need to contribute offensively for Southwest to have a chance against some of the top teams. And they're going to have to play one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the finals if they qualify, as Bairstow hits another 3. But to me, that's where I think you have Southwest can compete against any of those teams. I think Parsons, when she can play and play well, takes them to that another level where they can compete against those Spartans and Mackays and Logans.
I agree. She's a very, very good player, Sydney Parsons. So hopefully for her sake and for Southwest's sake, she's healthy. Or healthy enough to play at a good level.
Ezria Parsons misses the jump shot on the other end. 3:20 to go in the game, and Southwest up big. You look at the ladder, though, for the women, and if Southwest, those top 3 spots seem to be locked in. I must say, though, Mackay is going to finish their season. I think they have a bye, and Logan has a bye next weekend. So those 2 teams are going to stay, but if Gladstone wins, I'm not sure. No, Mackay's done. So the top 3 are locked in for women. Spartans are going to finish first. Logan's going to finish second. Mackay's going to finish third.
Towns will have a triple header next weekend, I think. Is that right?
I got to look at the schedule.
I think they had a double header, but the Brisbane replay turns it into a 3-game weekend, I think.
Yeah, we'll look at the schedule at right now. So Townsville will come down here. They'll face the USC Rip on Friday night. Saturday night, then Townsville will go to Caloundra to take on the Phoenix, and then they will have to finish off on Sunday at 11 a.m. in the women's competition against the Brisbane Capitals. So it's not going to be easy for Townsville, but you look at the ladder, and Dan, they do have an opportunity to potentially finish in 4th. They'll probably finish 4th or 5th and still have to face Gladstone in either home or away. But for Southwest, the difference is going to be finishing, either staying in the southeastern corner to face the Spartans or Logan, or maybe moving up to 6th to travel up to Mackay to play Mackay. Donders hits the teardrop, 70-27. The score, we got about 2 minutes to go in the game. Some pretty interesting matchups, though, if you think about it. The Cairns Dolphins are at the moment on the outside looking in. I think they would probably be disappointed if they finish outside of the finals again this year. Last year they had a better record, but because it was the pool system, they didn't qualify. Now this year it's the top 8 as Cheslett gets a block. And they look like they're on the outside at the moment looking in.
Yeah, they would be super disappointed, I'm sure. As players and like Mark Worthington playing or coaching would have higher standards than missing playoffs, as Donders makes a great move.
And I said that Toowoomba would finish with 28. They're at 29, so I'm a point off at the moment as Bairstow finishes with the jump shot.
I said 32.
What did I say?
I don't think you said one in the end.
I thought I was about the 32 mark as well. I'm with you, Regan. I think 32 is, although how's that going to happen? One three-point shot? I don't think they've got a three-point. I think 31. They'll score one more bucket.
Cheslett finishes with the left hand.
We weren't taking bets on what they were going to get, though.
No, well, we were just talking about what we thought the end result would be and where they would finish.
And I think after an 18-0 quarter, in the 30s seemed about right. But
Donders gets called for the charge.
I think she might have tweaked an ankle too, stepping on someone's foot. Doesn't look too bad.
She looks all right. She's going to shake that one off. Southwest going to get the win here. Again, going into that final weekend with a bit of momentum. They're going to face, like we said, Ipswich on the Saturday night at Cotton On Foundation Stadium. Then they're going to have to back up on the Sunday and head over to Roland Cowan Stadium to take on the top-seeded and undefeated Brisbane Spartans. Let's see who Toowoomba has next week. Toowoomba will have to travel down to the Gold Coast to take on the Gold Coast on Saturday at 5 p.m. And that'll wrap things up for Toowoomba on the season. Bairstow called for the offensive foul. She can't believe it.
I don't think Francis can believe it either, actually.
Yeah, the look on her face was a bit of a one of surprise as well.
We in team fouls. Is that 2 shots?
No, offensive foul.
It's
So
all
just be
offensive,
side
yeah.
ball.
I was going to say that was the chance for them to get 31. 2 foul shots.
Let's see if Toowoomba can get the shot off here. Donders gets it out to Russell. Now Donders has it. Going to bring it back out with 5 on the shot clock. Throws one up. She's fouled there by Carmen Hanara-Latu. Donders going to go to the free throw line. Big free throws here to see if you guys could get to that 30-31 mark.
Make one, O-board. Easy layup, 32 points.
Hits the first. It's the second, so it brings it to that 31-point mark. The clock's going to run out, though, and it's going to be a final score of 74-31. The Southwest Metro Pirates get the win over the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Take a quick look at the final statistics here, Dan, but it was from start to finish an impressive win for Southwest. A couple things, though, that you think that Coach Cheney is going to look at and want his troops to tighten up in that round of 15 matchup with Ipswich.
Well, it wasn't a really polished performance, but they did enough to get a win, and that's really all you can ask for them. And as bad as Toowoomba might be, they still held a team to 30 points in the QBL. That's not anything to be overlooked from a defensive point of view, so all positive.
Finishing off individually, Steph Bairstow led all scorers. She had 28 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Shelby Cheslick had that double-double, 17 points and 17 rebounds. Of her 17 rebounds, 11 were offensive. And also finishing in double figures for Southwest was Maddie Willie, 10 points. She also had a double-double with 10 rebounds and 6 assists. 6 turnovers, though, there for Willie. On the game, Southwest shot 36% from the field, 32% from 3, and 53% from the free throw line. Toowoomba was led on the afternoon by Frances Donders, finished with 12 points. Courtney Hagan had 9, but they did struggle to score the ball. It was 18% from the field. Only 4 of 11, though, from 3, so not a bad percentage for Toowoomba from three-point land. But, guys, quick final thoughts before we take a break and come back with the men's game, Dan?
Southwest onwards and upwards. Looking forward to the postseason.
And they're going to have that matchup versus Ipswich as well next week, and it's going to be huge. Regan, your final thoughts on that women's game before we break and then come back for the men?
Yeah, look, I think Southwest will be in a pretty confident position next week to come in against Ipswich. Spartans is obviously going to be a very tough game on the Sunday, but after the game tonight and the way the girls played as a team, I think the Ipswich game, they should manage to get themselves up over Ipswich and hopefully secure a slightly higher position than where they are. It'll heavily depend on Sid Parsons and whether she plays or not as well, but I think Toowoomba just needs to look at the positives. I mean, you know, they didn't have 2 great quarters in that game. The second and the fourth were a lot better. But they just need to look towards next season now when restructuring the QBL system they got going up there. Like, they've got the fan bases, they've got the right, the right general structure in terms of having imports and getting the support. A little bit more work next season, they could be a lot more competitive.
That's going to do it for us for the women's action. Got to thank Jacob Beals on the camera, Regan Baker on the production panel, and Dan George on the commentary. I'm John Guarna, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget, we'll have the men's game between the Toowoomba Mountaineers and the Southwest Metro Pirates coming up shortly next. And next week, also, we'll have the Brisbane Capitals versus the USC Rip in the women's action, tipping at 6 p.m. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia.